This video is exactly how reading leveled up my life and the app that I'm using to level up my reading. So yeah, a bit different to the uni vlogs. Obviously we've still got the Nerha vlog coming, the one where we flew out to Spain that you saw at the end of the last video.
It makes it easier to say yeah. Lay all your laundry on the bed and then I'll lay in it instead. I like us better when we're wasted.
Unfortunately, that's not going to be out until next week at the earliest because I just genuinely don't have time to edit it right now. Not really ideal. But anyway, today's video, basically I'm going to be splitting this video into two key chapters. The first bit is going to be the backstory and basically how reading kind of leveled up my life over the last year and a half, 2 years. And the second half of the video is going to be the app that I am using to level up my reading and hence level up the leveling up of my life. Quick spoiler, it's actually the Headway app, and honestly it has been an absolute godsend. We'll get to that in the second half of the video. Okay, so how has reading changed my life? Well, before the first lockdown, all I was reading were things like science fiction. I was reading things like Harry Potter, Divergent, Hunger Games, all of the classic fictions, all of the classic stories, and yeah, I really enjoy it. It was kind of a form of escapism, and it was more kind of just like a leisure activity, and I wasn't getting too much value from it. It was just like watching Netflix, but obviously slightly more mentally engaging, and did that offer a little more value than Netflix shows. But then coming into the first lockdown when COVID hit, I really kind of re-established my priorities and re-established my views on life really, and I kind of re-established my priorities from more of an academic standpoint to building out my overall character and everything that came with me as a person, as a package. And I really wanted just to be the best package that I possibly could be. So at the time I was actually working at Sainsbury's, and over lockdown I picked up a lot of morning shifts. So I'd start at like 4 or 5 a.m. and I'd work through until like 8, 9 a.m. But it meant I was working when the shop was closed, so I was allowed to listen to music. But instead of listening to music, what I did was I picked up my first audiobook, and the first book that I found I'd been wanting to read for ages, but I thought that would be beneficial for developing that character. That book was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And honestly, to this day, that book was one of the greatest books for shifting my social paradigm and making me view relationships as more than just small talk and more than just like surface level interaction. I was actually able to see the value in deeper relationships and exactly how I could improve those relationships and my experiences with other people. And honestly, from that point, my view on relationships and everything like that completely changed. And I am so grateful for having listened to that audiobook because it has allowed me to build out so many more fruitful and more beneficial relationships in my life. And relationships, in addition to all of this content I've been consuming, was a massive catalyst for everything that I've got up until this point. Like obviously with my YouTube channel, with my work in the startup space and everything like that, that all comes down to relationships, and that stemmed from that paradigm shift I attained listening to that book. But then knowing that that book had had such a significant change in my mindset led me to want to read more. So I ended up starting The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens, an absolute gem of a book, and I read that fully. I didn't listen to it in an audiobook. Again, one of the greatest books I could have read, and it just changed my overall outlook on so many different things. Winning my internal battles before tackling my like external battles, and prior to reading all of this stuff, quite honestly, I wasn't that confident internally and externally, and that really changed after reading that book. Like I started to develop that inner confidence, and that led to external confidence and just made me so much happier and have so much of a better mindset. And that just spiraled into consuming loads of similar personal development type pieces of content. So I listened to Naval's podcast, I listened to podcasts on like mental models and mental thinking, and I just began consuming loads more content in the personal development space. And honestly, that set me on a rocket ship trajectory where I just was feeling so much more content, so much happier, feeling like a more effective person, and every aspect of my life started to improve. I hold that shift in content consumption responsible for all of that. Yeah, comparing the person that I was before lockdown to the person that I am now, I am just so glad that I started to consume all of that content and then took action on everything that I was reading, because it has done absolute wonders. And I mean, I'm sure you can tell from the videos, like it has changed me as a person significantly, and I'm very glad that it has. However, even though I knew reading to be so critical and I knew that it had such a profound effect on my life, I often found it hard to find the time to actually sit down and read a book. It just isn't something that comes to your mind when you're thinking about everything that you want to do in a day. And if you haven't already established like a solid reading habit, it is hard to find the time to do that. So in the new morning routine that I put together over Christmas, I carved out 20 minutes each day to do that reading. But with the content I was consuming, I noticed there was an abundance of context, backstory, and metaphors. I added little bit examples to the key key points the book was trying to put across. And that meant that getting the full value of the book meant going through all of these unnecessary examples. Obviously it did add value and help you to understand the points better, but unless you had the time to sit down and go in depth into the book, it just wasn't very helpful. All I wanted those 20 minutes in each morning to do was give me some key ideas that I could action in that day, but also put me in a working mindset and get me set up for everything that I had planned. And that is when I came across Headway. Headway is an app that takes all of the key concepts of a book and summarizes them in 20 minutes, basically eliminating all of the unnecessary information, unnecessary backstory, and unnecessary context. Now obviously that's not going to work for things like academic books where everything in that book you need to read to be able to understand those concepts, but for personal development books and the books that I stress so much about in this video, it's going to be a godsend. So I reached out to them and asked if I could make this video. So for the next month I used the app and all of its features to see if A, it was actually any good, but then B, see if it was going to offer any value for you guys. Spoiler, the fact that I'm making this video means it does. Okay, so first of all, how does it work? When you open the app, to find something you want to read is actually really easy. You can either start a challenge with X number of books, all aiming to better you in a particular area, jump into one of their curated collections, or just explore the different categories that they have. Over this challenge, I actually did the 14-day challenge on self-confidence, and that was a brilliant series. A couple of the books I didn't get on with that much, but all of the rest added loads of different viewpoints and definitely helped to alter my social paradigm for the better. Okay, but then once you've actually chosen a book, there are 3 different ways to tackle it. You can either listen to it, read it, or have it visually explained, though the visual explanation is only available for a few books. Now, most often I found myself listening to the summaries, as in the morning I'd pair it with a walk. And honestly, this was such a good way to kickstart the day. You get the blood flowing, and the insights, as well as offering value, just helped to put you in a productive mindset and get you set up for everything else you wanted to tackle that day or in that morning. However, if I did find myself not wanting to get out of bed and not finding myself with the drive to get up and go for that walk, I'd instead just read the summary, or if it was an option, have it visually explained, because the visual explanations, they were sick. But the best part about reading them was you could turn all of the key insights into flashcards by just clicking remember, and then you were able to review those over a spaced period to help you recall the information. The app essentially just takes the notes for you and helps you to remember it all, which is definitely something that I struggle with when it comes to just reading or listening to audiobooks myself. I really should be doing this. Like, I don't have an excuse, but I don't find myself with enough drive to go and make notes on that book and then try to actively record it in the future. I just kind of take it on board at that time. Definitely need to change that. Then, of course, for those of you that are motivated by metrics, you can set daily goals, keep a reading streak, and monitor your progress on the profile page, just helping you to build up that habit and keep consistent. But yeah, honestly, with my time using Headway, it really sat nicely in that morning routine, helped to kickstart each and every one of those days that I did use it. Admittedly, there were days that I didn't use it, but those days that I did start my day like that, they were so much more productive. I mentioned this in my morning routine video, but having a solid start to your day is the single greatest thing that you can do for your productivity throughout, and it just allows you to get so much more done and feel more fulfilled while you're doing it. So yeah, the morning routine aspect of the app, absolutely banging. Then when it comes to the insights of the books themselves, they are offering you really valuable points, and the fact that it skips all of the context and the backstory that's not necessarily that helpful unless, again, you have time to really deep dive into those books. It is going to give you quick, tangible actions that you can do to start leveling up your life through personal development and through the insights of all these brilliant authors. Like I said at the start, these type of books honestly changed the course of my life for the better, and I am so grateful that I started. So if you guys do want to start a new reading habit, do you want to start leveling up your life, but don't think you quite have enough time to sit down and blast out hundreds of pages of books, Headway is arguably a brilliant compromise. So if you do want to check it out, links in the description below. But otherwise, yeah, I do hope you've enjoyed this video. Next few videos are going to be my organization for this term. A lot of things have happened this week that's kind of thrown that off, and I'll be explaining that in the next few videos. And then of course we have the Nerha Spain travel vlog, which I am so excited for. Anyway, I'm going to edit this video and then head back to uni. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.
I live inside my own world of make-believe.